Living has risen again, but not as much. In November, it went up 0.3%, much less than the increase in several other months this year. If it lasts, if it does, it'll mean the rate of inflation is reduced, though not stopped. The White House said this was good news, all right, but there was no outburst of enthusiasm. Instead, there were caution and a reminder that not too much could be made of the cost of living figure for 1 month. The president's head economic advisor, Paul McCracken, had a news conference and said he was more optimistic than otherwise.
I might say that as I look from these closing days of this year into 1971, I think it is quite clear, I think it's generally recognized by most students of economic developments and policy, that we are looking at a year ahead, which is going to be a quite prosperous year, and one exhibiting rather strong gains in economic activity. That is based not just on, it is not based on hope or wishful thinking. It is based on the fact that fundamental economic policies of expansion have now been in place long enough to where they are going to make a difference they're going to be pushing the economy in that direction. And of course we do also begin the year from an artificially fairly low position here because of the adverse impact of the General Motors strike on fourth quarter economic activity. In other words, in a manner of speaking, we've been through the worst of both worlds phase of trying to get at our cost price inflation, and I would hope that in 1971 we're going to see ourselves moving into the best of both worlds phase.
There were some other less attractive economic notes. The average American worker's pay was reduced in November because the work week was a little shorter, because buying was a little reduced. It also came out that for 1970, for the first time in 12 years, production in this country will be smaller than the year before. The gross national product, they call it. In money terms, it'll show an increase as usual, but all the increase is in the prices, not in the amount of goods or services. In terms of actual product, 12 years of constant growth ended this year. John?
With the levels of poisonous mercury being unacceptably high, although not immediately dangerous, in tuna and swordfish, the government has started to look for mercury in other places, in other fish, and in lower forms of marine life. The Food and Drug Administration says, in addition, that shipments of swordfish from Japan are being held up until a testing program can be set up there. And off the Louisiana coast, the worst offshore oil well fire ever recorded continues to burn as it has since the 1st of December.
Pushed by strong southerly winds, patches of oil from the burning Shell Oil Company platform washed up yesterday along a 30-mile stretch of the Louisiana coastline. Rainbows of oil were seen in coastal bays, the rich oyster and shrimping grounds that dot the coastline. But today, the wind shifted to the north, and the wind and rough seas washed the oil away from the beaches. Shell is using a special chemical called herder to prevent the oil from spreading. But Shell engineers say the combination of strong northerly winds and rough seas is the best protection against oil pollution.
Natural cleansing that the tides and the wave action give us. I think you can see the beach today is relatively clean. So to date, there hasn't been enough oil come to shore to really cause permanent staining or permanent damage to the beach. So with the application of the herder and the natural cleansing of the waves and the tides, we've been able to keep the beaches relatively clean so far.
The Shell rig has been burning since December 1st. Firefighters continue pumping millions of gallons of water on the blaze, while engineers drill relief wells like this one in efforts to cut off the oil now feeding the fire. Shell has 650 men working in the Gulf to keep oil pollution to a minimum. So far, there hasn't been much pollution, but if winds again shift to the south, oil will again drift back toward the shore. This is Pat Brown in New Orleans.
In Colorado today, a farmers group complained bitterly about chemical agents stored at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal which could destroy wheat crops. The Army plans to dispose of the anti-crop material, a wheat rust spore. No known strains of wheat could resist the spore if the material got loose. The farmers asked the governor to appoint a panel of civilian scientists to assist the Army in the destruction of the spores. Governor John Love has not yet seen the proposal.
This is NBC Nightly News, Thursday, December 24th, 1970.
Some children would just give up and go away.
A Soviet military court in Leningrad today handed down 2 death sentences in a case of attempted airplane hijacking. The first time, apparently, that death penalties have ever been pronounced in a hijacking case. The case involved 11 people, mostly Jews, who were planning to take over a Russian plane, fly it to Finland, and then make their way to Israel. One of the men sentenced to death today is listed as a Jew in his Soviet passport. The other is listed as a Russian, but says he considers himself to be a Jew. The other defendants were given prison terms ranging from 4 to 15 years. Last night, we carried an interesting story from Cambodia. Members of the left-wing Cambodian guerrilla movement, the Khmer Rouge, it seems, are defecting from the communist side and turning up in the camps of Cambodian government troops. They say they don't like the North Vietnamese and that the North Vietnamese don't like them. Tonight, we have some pictures of Khmer Rouge defectors.
The 20 men surrendered at a small military base about 20 miles south of Phnom Penh. This is the second large group of men to defect from the Khmer Rouge, the Cambodian rebels, this week. They said they had been persuaded to rally to the government by their local monks. The government has asked the Buddhist monks in the small villages to talk to their people in efforts to gain support. The original 26 men who defected earlier came out of the jungle and volunteered to join the Cambodian army. They've already been outfitted in new uniforms, and they'll undergo 1.5 months of training before being sent into the field. They brought along their weapons, which had been given to them by the Viet Cong. They included 5 American M1 rifles. Their leaders said they had defected because they were disillusioned with the Viet Cong. They said they joined the communists originally because they were told they would liberate their country from the Americans. But he said they never saw an American, and they fought only Cambodian troops.
This is the first group of Cambodians that have left the Viet Cong and rallied to the government. The Army says this is a sign that their propaganda program is beginning to work. Lou Davis, NBC News at Ong Long Ramet, Cambodia.
The Thursday casualty figures were released in Saigon today, and the combat death toll for Americans is at the lowest point in 5 years. Last week, only 23 Americans were killed on Vietnamese battlefields, while 46 died because of illness and accidents. There were 160 Americans wounded during the week. David?
Near Detroit, a 7-year-old boy has an ailment his doctors say may not allow him to see another Christmas. The news media carried the word that he would like to have a few Christmas cards. At last count, he had more than 500,000. So many that the small house he lives in will not hold anymore. Plus gifts, money, cakes, and a card from the president. In California, Cesar Chavez is out of jail.
When word got out that Chavez was to be released, 500 of his supporters gathered outside the Salinas jail. The leader of the Farm Workers Union was released by the state Supreme Court, which will now decide if an injunction against his boycott of lettuce is legal. Chavez said he was treated kindly during his 20 days in jail, but wasn't happy with the accommodations.
This jail reminds me of some of the labor camps. The plumbing doesn't work. It leaks when it works. It's very cold. It leaks when it rains. Very damp. The lighting is very bad. I would suggest to the citizens of Monterey County to build a new jail. It's a disgrace.
Chavez went among his followers to urge nonviolence. He said the boycott will continue and that his release from jail is a victory for the whole idea that there is justice in this country. There There was a massive Thanksgiving. Chavez asked in the spirit of Christmas for the growers to negotiate an end to the boycott, which in the long run, he said, nobody wins. Don Oliver, NBC News, reporting.
In Presque Isle, Maine, students at the University of Maine, before they left for the holidays, walked to the local police station, stood outside in the cold, and sang Christmas carols to the cops. The police were so affected, they burst into tears and came outside and sang with them for an hour. On Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and so on, there are still a few people left, including television blabbers and other losers who still have to work. But in Milwaukee, a lot of people who normally would have to work will have the night off.
This is John Volpe, Jr., a bartender in Milwaukee. For 9 years now, he has had to work every Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. His wife and children weren't too happy about that, but this year things will be different. Somebody is working for him. The somebody is Albert Rosen, a 52-year-old salesman who is Jewish. A few weeks ago, Rosen let it be known that he would be happy to work on Christmas for any Christian that wanted time off. Volpe called him and got him a temporary bartender's license, and this week he has been teaching Rosen what to do.
What do I do now?
You're doing everything wrong. You put it in there. Now put that down.
Okay.
Take the vermouth bottle.
Vermouth. And where do you put this? Do you put this in here?
Put it on top of there.
On top of here. How much do I put in, John?
Just a drop.
Oh.
And then you put a half an ounce of dry vermouth in there.
1/2 ounce?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, is he nervous?
No, I'm not really nervous, but I'm just want to do a good job here.
Rosen's idea caught on with other Milwaukee Jews, specifically the Brotherhood at the city's Temple Emmanuel. Its members knew there were a lot of people who had to work Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, so they did what they could to replace them. There were about 300 volunteers in all. Many are working at various hospitals, at the non-professional jobs like the information desk and the switchboard, as well as nurses' stations. Some are working as hotel clerks. Of necessity, the jobs have to be easy to learn, requiring no special skills. The Brotherhood is amazed at the response, considering how late the project got started. Next year, it plans to start much earlier.
We would very definitely like to see this expand. I know that we will be placing approximately 60 people this year, perhaps a few more. I know that I have not had to call a single person and ask him, will you work?
This is working so well that the local chapter of the Knights of Columbus, a Catholic group, is talking about reciprocating next year and working for Jews on their holidays, such as Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. It seems that something has started here. Fred Briggs, NBC News in Milwaukee.
I'm Sid Cherise. Now, I'm not going to tell you my age because I don't look it. You know, the best way not to look your age is to do something about it. I do. I take good care of myself. I exercise, I try and eat the right foods, get plenty of rest, and to be sure that I get enough iron and vitamins, I take a Geritol tablet every day. Geritol. I think it's one of the nicest things a girl can do for herself.
You heard what she said.
Geritol, every day. Hi there. So what's he doing in my shop with his electric razor and Williams electric shave? Okay, so the electric shave does make your whiskers stand up. So it does lubricate your face and give you a close, comfortable shave. So, a shave that feels barber close with your electric razor? Sure enough. Look for the big L, first letter in.
For the first time in the United States, a team of surgeons has performed corrective surgery on a blue baby, an infant whose great arteries are hooked up to the wrong portions of its heart. In Boston, doctors successfully transposed the arteries on a 6-month-old child, and its skin, which had been a bluish color, quickly returned to normal. In some parts of the United States, there have been reports that there are more parents who want to adopt babies than there are babies available for adoption. In Los Angeles, they are trying a new technique in getting prospective parents and babies together: television.
For a long time, they've been doing it with dogs and cats, bringing homeless animals into a studio, showing them on television, urging people to adopt them. It worked with dogs and cats, so a Los Angeles television station began doing it with children. Each week, after the Thursday morning movie, station KTTV brings homeless babies into the studio. And as one station executive says, we pitch them like used cars.
These children are from the Los Angeles County Department of Adoptions, and they're visiting us today in hopes that somewhere in our audience they can find a mommy and a daddy. This is Tammy. Tammy, 21 months old, would love a bite of lunch about now. Negro, French, and Mexican in background. You see, these children is classified, all of them, as special needs children because of their mixed racial background, and in the case of this little girl, in addition to the minority racial background, she also has had that brain surgery, but she's okay now. She's okay now and just ready for a mommy and daddy, and I think maybe even lunch first. 381-2761 for Tammy with the blue-gray eyes. And there's little Honey again. There's little Honey. Healthy, 3 months old, full Negro baby, and right here in a bright yellow dress. Incidentally, we always want to find a mother and father for these babies, of course, but in the event that two parents cannot be found, then the county will allow the child to go to a single parent. Janie, 9 months old, healthy, wearing her Christmas bell dress, all bright red, and she's got some Christmas tinsel in her hair. And I think, Ann, you said she was a preemie, didn't you, originally? Just slightly premature, but she's just as healthy as can be now, and everything's fine. Needs a mommy and daddy, that's all. And last, but certainly not least, our 6-year-old, Doreen. Pretty little girl, full American Indian of a Southwest tribe.
With older children like this girl, the television station does not bring them into the studio. It would be awkward. They would know what was happening, so they show film of them. After this program, the County Department of Adoptions got 20 calls for this girl alone. The program gets remarkable results. They've placed probably 500 children. When they began it, when executive producer John Ross thought of the idea, he was concerned people would think peddling babies on television was bad taste.
It's a very ticklish thing. You're showing, small children, many of them hard-to-place homes with medical problems, racially mixed. And yes, we did have. We had second thoughts, but we thought, well, we're really out to get children placed, not to look good in the community and not to be proper. We wanted results.
We no longer have a long waiting list of children who are waiting for families. Now we place them in the home just about as quickly as they come to us.
And this television program is pretty effective, huh?
It's been remarkable, yes. It's been the finest thing that ever happened for our children.
Mrs. Paul Voigt of Los Angeles got a baby from the television program. She was working in her kitchen one morning. The program was on, and she saw a baby.
The baby was perfectly normal and healthy in every way except for this one factor. He was born blind.
Had you thought about adopting a child?
In the background of my mind all my life, yes.
Is that why you were watching the program, maybe?
No, yes and no. Yes and no.
But when you saw this baby...
That was it. I went directly to the phone and called my husband and said, this is what I have seen on TV that I want.
No, we always wanted to adopt a baby, but the idea that the baby is blind appealed to me, as we had one child that was blind, and we felt that our family was geared to live with the sighted and with the blind at the same time.
Well, I thought it was perfectly great because I thought it was a very good opportunity for me to have a little brother
You had wanted a little brother or sister?
I had wanted any of them. It didn't matter which, as long as I had a baby in the family.
Having a baby that was blind meant something special for you.
Yes, it was. It was very special to me. I liked the idea because I could just imagine that when he gets older, how many things I could teach him, like Braille and typing and things like that.
David has been with the Voights, has been their son, for a year and a half now. It took rather special people with special understanding to adopt him. Such people might never have been found without the television program. A final note, David, though born without sight or hope of sight, in recent months has started to see a little. And one other thing, a couple of months ago, the Voights saw another baby on television, so they told Deanne and David they were going to get a brother. Jack Perkins, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Some people believe that after God created it all, he just stood back to see what would happen next. But if God is here and now, then his creation is here and now too. And every one of us is part of that creation. We're God's hands here on this earth. So next time you shake your head over injustice or poverty, remember it's you who'll help to change the world. And it all starts when you show God's love in the world.
There have been reports this week that the president's daughter, Tricia, is about to announce her engagement to Edward Finch Cox, a law student at Harvard. The White House said today, carefully, there is no imminent engagement to announce. But late today, the engagement of Vice President Agnew's 23-year-old daughter, Susan, was announced. She will marry a first sergeant in the Maryland State Police, 36-year-old Colin McIndoe. Yesterday, Secretary of State Rogers said that private talks in Paris on the Vietnam War might be better than public talks. Today, the North Vietnamese in Paris said they are ready for private talks, but only on their publicly stated hardline terms. And this cheerful holiday note from your friendly Internal Revenue Service in Washington. Your federal income tax forms for 1970 are being delivered to post offices now, and you should get them about 10 days after the holidays, which is, of course, reassuring. The New York Stock Exchange closed out the trading week today with a good gain. The Dow Jones Industrials gained 5 1/4 points, and the value of an average share rose 25 cents. On the American Exchange, an average share gained 19 cents. David?
Paris and London and some other world capitals lately have been cleaning their monumental buildings, removing the grime of centuries. And a lot of them, thought to be black, turn out when they're cleaned to be pink. Washington, as a world capital, isn't yet old enough to have its buildings black, so instead of cleaning them, it's lighting them. Somehow they hate to say they're doing anything for aesthetic reasons, for reasons of simple beauty, so they say they're lighting them to keep down the crime. But anyway, on the night before Christmas, with all the lights on, the old town looks pretty good. thank you. And for John Chancellor, Frank McGee, and me, and Ed Newman, and Gary Gutley, and all of us, a Merry Christmas to you, and good night for NBC News.
It's not where you've been, it's where you're going, going, going. You can leave where you've been, start your growing, growing, growing. The helplessness of yesterday, the sense of not belonging, disappear with nowhere. The whole world is changing. Your whole world is changing today. It's where you're going.
All of your yesterdays can't make one tomorrow. Find you by letting yourself go with the YWCA. Build for tomorrow by doing today. The YWCA offers the way.
It's where you're going.
A Christmas card from NBC.
Merry Christmas.
This is WSM Television, Channel 4, Nashville.
Good evening, I'm Al Vex, and these are the headlines that set the scene at 6. A meeting today, another one Saturday, but yet the threat continues.
Tulane has a new football coach. I'll have details on the sports.
I'm Floyd Kephart, and there's no politics tonight.
I'm Boyce Hawkins. I hope the weather is exactly like you want it. Merry Christmas, everybody.